What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be breaking down my bracket for the 2022 NCAA tournament. I'm pretty excited to fill this out. Thank you for all the support on my breakdown of every team, that video. Really appreciate the support on that one. Sorry I didn't really sound all that into it. It was just a lot of work all at once, and I kind of left it off last minute, and it got pretty stressful trying to get all that done by the time, the bracket came out. So I apologize if I didn't sound all too into it, but for this video, I've sat around and thought about my bracket for the past couple of days and just want to get all my thoughts gathered before I filled it out, because sometimes I fill it out instantly and then I change it up. So I wanted to get it done before the first four started tonight. So I got it all ready to go. Hope you enjoy this video. Make sure you leave a like on it if you could. Again, with college basketball, it is my favorite sport, but the more you know, honestly, the worse you do, because you overthink everything. And I honestly could have thought about this for another 2 days, but I'm just going to fill it all out and get it all done with. Some of the things I go with are a little bit chalky. Some of the things I've got some upsets along the way. I thought about at least every single matchup. I always think about where the game's being played, the time it's being played. I think about everything that is involved with these matchups. So this is what I think, and let's just get this thing out of the way. Gonzaga and Georgia State, that's a crazy matchup for Gonzaga. Georgia State, they had some injuries along the way, but I think that Gonzaga takes this one. I hope that they don't lose, because that would just be devastating. And I don't want to see people hating on Mark Few. It's so frustrating. As a college basketball fan, I respect the hell out of what he's built there, and some people just don't really understand it. Then we got Boise State and Memphis, and this is a tough one. I like this Boise State team. I think they have a really solid starting five. Memphis has started playing much better, but I'm going to go with Boise State because I think that it's an early tip out in Portland, Oregon, and I think that's a long travel for Memphis. I think Boise's going to be rested, ready to go, and they're not going to overlook Memphis. I can see Memphis overlooking Boise State a little bit, and honestly, it's crazy Memphis even got here because their season started out not that great. And then UConn and New Mexico State. I have the Huskies winning this matchup. I think that they kind of match up well with New Mexico State because they're going to try to muck it up against UConn, and I think that UConn kind of plays that style, so I think that's going to be in their favor. Then with Vermont, Arkansas, I thought about this one for a while. I'm going to actually side with Arkansas. I was thinking about Vermont, but I really like this Arkansas team. I love trusting teams that actually play defense, which they do. And I think they've turned around their season a little bit. So I'm going to go with Arkansas. They've proved it over the past couple of weeks. And with Alabama and Rutgers / Notre Dame, well, with the first four, I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win that game. I think a lot of people are picking Rutgers, and I think this Notre Dame team, I like how their season's turned around for them, and I love Blake Wesley as a player. And then against Alabama, I think that Notre Dame actually beats Alabama. That's what I'm going to go with there. If it happens, Alabama's been struggling as of recent, so I'm going to go with the Irish there. Texas Tech and Montana State, I'm going to go with Texas Tech. That could be a close game. Montana State's a good offensive team. Michigan State and Davidson, I'm actually going to side with Michigan State. I was thinking Davidson, and then I kind of slowly, I'm like, all right, Tom Izzo, he's going to know how to stop Foster Loyer and those guys. So I'm going to stick with Michigan State. And then with Duke and Cal State Fullerton, I'm going to go with Duke. Okay, moving down to the East, I have Baylor beating Norfolk State. I think that Norfolk State's a good team, but I trust Baylor. Then with North Carolina and Marquette, I think this could be... North Carolina is a team that can get punched and they don't respond. I think Marquette's the type of team that can punch them, but I just look at the rebounding, and I think that North Carolina is just going to out-rebound Marquette and get those extra opportunities. Marquette's not a good rebounding team on either side, so I'm going to stick with Tar Heels there. Then with St. Mary's and Wyoming / Indiana, I think that Indiana wins the first four, but I think that St. Mary's wins that game. I like what I've seen from St. Mary's as of recently. UCLA and Akron, I think this is a good game for UCLA. They match up pretty well with Akron, and Akron wants to slow the game down, and that's what UCLA wants. So I'm going to stick with the Bruins there. And then Texas and Virginia Tech, I'm going to go with the Hokies here. I really like what I've seen from them recently, and I don't like the body language of Texas at all. I think that Virginia Tech's kind of going to be maybe this year's Oregon State instead of like Georgetown from last year. I think that they are a team that I think could get pretty far. Purdue and Yale, I like Purdue in this one. I don't really like Yale at all, so I'm going to go with Purdue. And Murray State and San Francisco, this was the one that I spent the most time on. I think that this is going to be the best matchup, but I'm going to go with Murray State, and I really wanted to go with San Francisco, but I just think that because that game's in Indianapolis, I think those Murray State fans will travel up for it. And also, I think that Kentucky, they're going to win, and I think that like those Kentucky fans will probably cheer for Murray State. Probably not because they don't really like Murray State, but think that like the state of Kentucky would deserve a matchup like that. That'd be really cool to see. So I'm going to go with them. Again, that's probably been the toughest one. I thought about that one for a long time. So you could really go either way with that one, and I could see both outcomes happening. Then moving up to the top right, we got Arizona and Wright State and Bryant, and Wright State's my school. I think they're going to beat Bryant and Peter Kiss. So that's I hope that happens. I'm going to be at the game. And then Arizona, I think that they'll beat either of them. So it would suck, but who knows? Wouldn't that be crazy if Wright State beat Arizona? What a moment that would be, but I don't think that's going to happen. This Arizona team's awesome. Seton Hall and TCU, I love how TCU's been playing lately. I think that they're not going to be intimidated by Seton Hall, who's kind of a team that they're going to try to lock it down defensively. And I think that TCU can win that game. And that's a far travel for Seton Hall that they're going to have to go out to San Diego for that one. And yeah, that's a long flight. Houston UAB, I love this UAB team. They were honestly the best team in the Conference USA. They are good against teams that play slow, which is what Houston wants to do. They had North Texas beat once and they beat them another time. And they kind of remind me of Houston in a lot of ways. So I think that UAB is going to be ready for that game. And Jelly Walker, I think he can carry them to a victory. Illinois and Chattanooga. I like Illinois in this matchup. Chattanooga's going to try to make this thing physical, and I think that when you have Kofi, that's going to be hard to do. And I honestly could see a bit of an upset here, but I'm going to stick with Illinois. Colorado State and Michigan. This is the first game in the tournament, and this one is tough to pick. I've thought about this one for a lot. I like how this Michigan team has played kind of lately. I can see people disagreeing with that statement, but they had Indiana beat. They just collapsed. And if they would have won that game, I think they could have gone and run in the Big Ten tournament. And I just like their size. Diabate, obviously, Hunter Dickinson. They still have pretty decent guard play. Caleb Houston. I just think that this is a bad matchup for Colorado State because they're not a good defensive team. And Michigan, I just think that their size is going to be too much for Colorado State. It's going to be a good game, though. Tennessee and Longwood. I like Tennessee in this game. If they somehow lost that game, I'd be just beyond pissed off. But I think Tennessee is going to be able to win that one. Ohio State and Loyola Chicago. Ohio State was a sleeper team for me, but I thought that Loyola turned it on in the Missouri Valley Conference, their tournament. And I just think they're playing their best basketball. They're healthy finally, and Ohio State's not been healthy at all. And I think they're stumbling into the tournament. I would hate to see Ohio State lose this game, but I think that Loyola is going to take it. And then Villanova and Delaware. It'd be crazy if Delaware pulled this off with Jameer Nelson Jr., but I think that Nova is going to win that game. And then moving down to the Midwest, which is just the weakest division I think I've ever seen, or side of the bracket. This is a weird pod. Let me tell you, we got Kansas, Texas Southern, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I like Texas Southern in that game, but I like Kansas to win. If there was going to be an upset, though, I could see Texas Southern pulling it off. I mean, they have a win over Florida this year, so they're a pretty decent team. They're going to be tough. And then San Diego State and Creighton. I like Creighton in this game. I think the way they played the Big East tournament, I think they're kind of finding their groove. They've been playing without Brian Nembhard, which is crazy. They've been able to play so well without him. But I just trust them defensively. This is probably going to be a game to 45 points wins. Iowa and Richmond. I like Iowa. They've been just playing absolutely perfect basketball as of recently. So I don't see Richmond winning that game because Richmond, they got pretty lucky to even get into the tournament. Providence, South Dakota State. Now this is the craziest matchup of all time, and I think it's the second game of the Thursday. So everybody's brackets is going to be up in flames after the first three games. The luckiest team in college basketball in a lot of ways, playing on St. Patrick's Day, which is just so ironic. In South Dakota State, my favorite mid-major. I'm going to have to go with the upset here. I've thought about this one way too much probably because my bracket's going to get busted no matter what, and I'm sitting here worrying about just one game. But I'm going to trust the Jackrabbits here. I think they're just too good offensively. They're going to push the pace, which is something that I think Providence might struggle with. And I've seen people say, well, Providence can stop it on the glass and stuff like that. Well, South Dakota State's got two pretty good big men that nobody's even talking about, and Luke Apple and Douglas Wilson. So I'm going to go with the Jackrabbits there. I think they're a fun upset story. Then LSU and Iowa State, which might be the worst matchup in the entire tournament. I'm not even lying. This game, it's going to be weird. I mean, it's played in up in, I think, Wisconsin. So, those Iowa State fans might travel out for that one. But at the same time, Iowa State's a team that can't score at time. I don't know what to say about this one. I'm going to go with LSU just because even without Will Wade, I think they just have way too much talent. And I hope they win that game. But Wisconsin and Colgate, and this is another one that gave me a lot of fits because if Johnny Davis isn't like all that healthy, I could see them losing. But this is like an hour drive from Madison to Milwaukee. I just think they're going to pack the house. Colgate's a team that could get hot though, but I'm going to stick with the Badgers. Then we have USC and Miami. I'm going to roll with the Hurricanes here. I like their guard play a lot. Proved it over this season. They've got some older dudes too, so I like them in that matchup, and they're a better free throw shooting team, so I think that might come down to that. And then Auburn and Jacksonville State. I could see Jacksonville State maybe pulling an upset because this is going to be a rivalry game for them, in a lot of ways. They play in Alabama, but I'm going to trust Auburn. I think Auburn's just too good. Okay, moving back up to the top, I'm going to take Gonzaga over Boise State. A little bit of a rematch between, former assistant at Gonzaga, Leon Rice, and Mark Few. And then Arkansas and UConn. This could be a little bit of a home game in a certain aspect for UConn. I think their fans are going to travel out for this tournament, but I just think that Arkansas has been too good as of recently to lose that game. But I hope this matchup does happen. I think this would be a fantastic game between two really similar teams. Then Notre Dame versus Texas Tech. I like the Red Raiders in this matchup. And then Duke and Michigan State. I like Duke. Tom Izzo, I don't think he's going to upset Coach K in his final season. Then moving down, we got Baylor, North Carolina. I could see this one being close, but I like Baylor's talent still. They've just got too much. Like Kendall Brown and Jeremy Sohan, they're just too good of players. I don't know if North Carolina is all that good. And then St. Mary's and UCLA. This is another game that I think fits into UCLA's style. They're going to want to slow it down, and I just think they're way too good of a team to lose to St. Mary's. Then Virginia Tech and Purdue. This is where I got an upset, everybody. I got Virginia Tech beating Purdue. I just think Virginia Tech's playing way too good of basketball as a team. I have not seen that team from Purdue like as a unit. I think that another thing that Purdue struggles with is it feels like they're always playing down a man because they can't have Zach Edey out there on the same time as Trevion Williams is out there. So I like the Hokies in that matchup. I think they've been playing really good basketball. I mean, then Murray State and Kentucky. I'm going to go with Big Blue Nation here. I think they're going to beat Murray State. That'd be a fun game. I really hope that happens. If they do play San Francisco, that'd still be a great game as well. Then Arizona and TCU. I love Arizona in this matchup. And then Illinois versus UAB. I think that Illinois would win that game as well. And then Michigan and Tennessee. I think that they're just way too good of a shooting team from deep, and they play great defense. So I'm going to stick with old Rocky Top there. And then Villanova versus Loyola. I have an upset. I have Loyola winning that game. I think that they brought everybody back for a reason, and I think that Villanova is a very beatable team in my opinion. I think that this is a matchup between two very similar brands and like Villanova and Loyola. There's so many similarities between how they play, their culture, stuff like that. And I think that'd be a great win for Drew Valentine. I think that that'd be a great matchup to watch if it does happen. Then moving down to the Midwest, I have Kansas over Creighton. I have Iowa over South Dakota State. I think those are two really good matchups for both those teams. And that'd be a great Midwest Sweet 16 matchup between Kansas and Iowa. And then down below, I have Wisconsin beating LSU because I still trust Wisconsin. And then I have Auburn, which is a team that a lot of people are fading, but I still really believe in them as well. So that sets up the Sweet 16. For a spot in the Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga getting to the Elite Eight. I think that they just have way too much size and speed for Arkansas. And then Duke and Texas Tech, I have Duke winning that game, which is crazy because if this bracket was different, I probably would have had Duke losing a little bit earlier, but I think they actually got a pretty good pull. And then down in the East region, I have UCLA beating Baylor, and then I have Kentucky beating Virginia Tech. Yes, I have that. That'd be a crazy matchup in the Elite Eight out in Philadelphia between Big Blue Nation versus UCLA. That'd be a classic. Then moving up to the top, I have Arizona beating Illinois, and then I have Tennessee beating Loyola Chicago. And then finally down in the Midwest, I have Kansas beating Iowa, which, man, that could go either way. But I'm gonna go with Kansas. They've got really good guard play, and I actually thought that how they played in the Big 12 tournament, that's what really stood out to me. I think this team is actually rounding into form pretty well. And then Wisconsin and Auburn, I have Auburn winning that game, setting up the Elite Eight, which is a little bit of a chalky Elite Eight in my opinion, but I think this is going to be a little bit of a chalkier Final Four. I think that I don't really see like a huge under the radar team coming out of nowhere and shocking the world. I think this is actually going to be a pretty chalky Final Four. And then in my Final Four, Duke versus Gonzaga. I think this would be a great matchup, and I think this would be a little bit of passing the torch. I feel like Gonzaga has become the new Duke in a lot of aspects. They're getting, the NBA talent. They're a small program, not a big school by any means, and this is just my opinion. This is my bracket, obviously. You could have a completely different Final Four than me, but this is just how I feel like it's going to go down, which I think would be amazing if it happened, in my opinion, but I see a lot of people not wanting that. And I think that it'd be pretty fitting for Mark Few to end Coach K's run as the head coach of Duke. And then UCLA and Kentucky, this one pains me to do, but I have Kentucky winning this matchup. I've thought about it for a while. I want to say UCLA, but I think that Kentucky's the type of team that can get to the Final Four. I think they have everything that you want. They have size. They've got guard play. Oscar Tshiebwe is my favorite player in college basketball, so this really pains me to do because I think UCLA is good enough to win the national championship. They remind me of Virginia in 2019. They didn't bring everybody back for no reason, and it'd be a pain to do, but I think that Kentucky would travel out for that game. That's just where I'm going to stick with that. In the South region, Arizona and Tennessee, I actually have Tennessee winning that matchup. I really hope I'm not wrong about this one because a couple of times I always pick like a 3 seed to get to the Final Four, and they always lose in the first round. But I feel like this Tennessee team, they've got that perfect mix of 3-point shooting and defense. and that can be very dangerous in March. So I'm going to pick them to get to the Final Four. I worry about Kirk Reese's injury. His foot's not looking too great, but this would be such a tough matchup. I could see it going either way. And then down in the Midwest, I like Kansas over Auburn because I think their guard play will carry them through. This sets up my Final Four of Gonzaga, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Kansas. Then to play in the national championship game, I have Gonzaga beating Kentucky, and then I have Kansas beating Tennessee. And then for the national championship game, I have Gonzaga winning the national championship. This is the second year in a row I've picked them. I really hope they pull through this time. I think their team is very talented. I do worry about their region. Their region is just complete chaos because they're gonna have to run through some really good teams just to make the Final Four, and then they're gonna have to play probably UCLA or Kentucky to even, man, it's gonna be tough for them. But I just think that this is their year. I love this team. I love how they're built. You know, Nembhard, you got Chad Holmgren, you've got Brashear Bolton, Drew Timme, Hunter Salas, you know, Julian Strother. I think this is just a well-rounded team. Anton Watson's coming into form. I just really trust this team, and I want to see Mark Few win a national championship. And I don't know, it feels like the Blue Bloods always kind of win in the Final Fours that are always in New Orleans. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a chalkier Final Four. And, you know, Tennessee, that'd be a breakthrough for them. They've never made a Final Four in men's basketball. So there you go. That's going to do it for my bracket. Again, it's perfectly acceptable to have something completely different because March Madness is the most unpredictable sport there is. It's so much fun to watch. I can't wait to get started. This is my bracket. This is completely finalized. I'm not changing anything. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know your bracket down below. And that's going to do it for this video. Peace.